get you on the show for almost 4 years. You're a Mike Durant from the Black Hawk Down pilot, Charlie Duke, the Apollo 16 astronaut. There are a few guests that I just kept maneuvering and maneuvering to get, and I would often only get them for a couple minutes at a time. But it's the greatest honor to have them on. Um, I know I've got you for a limited amount of time. Anyone that hasn't read your book, Field to Fight, is in the description, and your movie Flynn, which came out. I watched it
Mhm.
twice yesterday. I actually texted your
Wow.
brother Joe, who I've had on before. I said we need the Joe Flynn trilogy, and he laughed at that. But Joe
Yeah.
Flynn, because I only have you for a short amount of time, I don't think you need to introduce yourself because everyone knows you. So just two general ideas, 100,000 foot view is
Yeah.
the first is, and we'll kind of split the episode into two halves. The first is one of my favorite books is Raven Rock by Garrett Graff. It's about continuity of government, continuity of operations, and during constitutional government.
Hmm.
I love contingency plans. I've got multiple hard drives next to my computer. I just love setting things up. I don't know why. I'm not worried about why I like it. When I
Yeah.
look at something like different tiers of survival, Raven Rock, NORAD. I mean, the different Doomsday planes, the kneecap planes, everything Curtis LeMay did, the Green Pine Network. When I look at something like 2020, that was so, to anyone with an impartial mind can see that there was fraud. I look at
Yeah.
that and I cannot put a gun to my head. I cannot say with an even pulse that that wasn't expected and that wasn't prepared for.
Mhm.
How could you elaborate on that with your illustrious background?
You mean as far as the levels of corruption? Because I think you broke up a little bit, but the levels of corruption going into government, I guess. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I think that what um, was most surprising was just how much the FBI and the CIA, especially, but also elements inside of the White House, how much, and these are people now, these aren't, and we know who these people are. And it's not just Barack Obama, but how much these people have completely turned against America. I mean, they have turned against this country and they're operating at the highest levels of our government. And when I say turned against our country, I wouldn't say that all of them are communists, but some of them are, and the ones that matter are. And I don't say that just by name calling. That's their ideology. Their ideological underpinnings are a belief in a government system or a way of government or an ideology that is anathema to ours as a constitutional republic. So these are people that want to change our constitution, want to change our way of life, want to change our system of government, and that depth of desire by them to undermine the Constitution, undermine a duly elected president of the United States, to undermine our country. That I just sit here today, and even looking back then, I just didn't see that. I didn't see that it was that bad. And now here we are 8 years later, right? Actually 8.5 years later from that time when I walked away from the White House. Um, it's like it's gotten worse. It's not gotten better. It's gotten worse. So what we now know, and a lot of people, many Americans, they just couldn't believe it. They could not believe it, and so a lot of Americans thought that I was a Russian spy or that I committed treason. Or I mean, seriously, a lot of people. So there's still people that believe that, even after all of the public information that has come out. Um, so for me, knowing what I knew and knowing the structure and our system of government the way that I knew, and going in as the national security advisor to the White House was a place that was very dangerous for them. Like Tucker says in the movie, he's the most dangerous man for Donald Trump to hire, right? And he's right. He's right. But not dangerous to America, dangerous to these anti-Americans, dangerous to them, dangerous to this group of people that are trying and continuing to try to overthrow the United States government. I mean, that's what we're facing. I don't know who, what your audience is. I'm sure you have a smart audience because you're a smart young man, and you like you just said, you bring on different people onto your show to talk about different issues. But I'm telling you, this country is being undermined, and it is being taken over by a small group of leftists, communists primarily. Some are hardcore Marxists, and some of those are in Congress, and there's many of them in the executive branch of government, mainly in the intelligence community, and frankly in the State Department. The guy leading the State Department. So, we're in a different era, and one election coming up is not going to fix it. We have to get this one right. God help us if we don't. Then we could lose everything. We might. But so we got to get this election, in November right in order for us to get back on at least one of the rails, because we're off the rails right now. This country is clearly off the rails, and the White House reaching at least one of the rails. Get back on one of them. It's going to take it's going to take more than 4 years though to fix this country, and to get us out of these conflict. And as you saw, having watched the movie, which I so appreciative that you did that. This notion of these endless wars. I mean, these people on the left and the right. It's not just the left. There's a lot of these neocons on the right, neoconservatives, neocons they call them. But there's neoliberals too, or neoprogressives, meaning they have never seen a war that they didn't want us to get involved in because it's a money machine. It is literally it's a money making machine for so many people, and so many people benefit. And when I look at the country, the United States of America, when I look at our country, and I start to take a look at, we've driven all over the country in this on this journey with this film. And one of the things that, normally I would fly to places. I'd fly to a city, I'd, do an event, try to raise some awareness. This time we decided to drive. And driving around our country, I can tell you firsthand that the infrastructure in the United States of America is in terrible, terrible condition. Highways, bridges, infrastructure. I mean, I'm driving down the road right now and just outside Houston, and it's just the roads are terrible. And yet we're going to spend. In fact, in Iraq and Afghanistan, we spent over $10 trillion. That kind of money is, people don't. When you hear the word trillion, people just kind of go, they like, they just right. They have no idea. Trillion. We actually spent probably close to $13 trillion in those two wars alone, and we have just given to Ukraine. We've probably given them somewhere between 2 and 400 billion. 400 billion, right? And I'm looking at, as we go around this country, I'm looking at homeless veterans as we get ready to go into Memorial Day weekend, where we're celebrating the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform who have died for this country. We have 55,000, at least that many veterans, probably more than that now. We have an infrastructure in this country that's in horrible, horrible shape. We have small businesses in this country that were basically destroyed during the COVID madness, right? And could not recover. In fact, I think it's 30% of small businesses in this country never recovered. I mean, and yet we continue to pour money overseas to these endless wars, and it just goes into somebody's pocket. It is not going to help to achieve anything. There are no stated objectives for these messy conflicts that we are involved in, and we need to get out of. So there's so much wrapped up in your question about, you had all this background and knowledge, and you go into the government. Our government is the Constitution's not broken. The people that are inside of our government they're broken people. They are people that have lost their souls. Many of them have had no souls. Many of them they've placed their ego in front of the mission of of protecting our country and abiding by the Constitution. And that's really where we're at. And if the American people don't see that, I don't know how much more I can. I don't know how much more I can plead with the American people about getting involved and getting out there and at least voting. Jesus, if you do anything to respect the people that sacrificed their lives for this country in wars over over 2.5 centuries, I mean, get out there and at least vote. We have too many people that still don't vote. And, and as simple as that sounds, like vote, right? People go, oh, yeah, I'll vote. No, they don't. No, they don't. We're still at, with these primaries that we're going through, we have less than 35% turnout nationwide. That's insane. We were just up in, I don't know what Texas has got some votes coming up here this week, back today and tomorrow. We'll see what happens. But we were just up in Nebraska, big red state, right? Supposedly red state. 27% turnout in their state for the primaries. 27. That's insanely outrageous. It's just outrageous. And I met a bunch of great people up there who are activists in the political life of Nebraska. But God, if they can't get the people out to vote, we're going to give this country away. We're going to give this country away, and instead of fighting for it. And I want people to fight for it. So I'll stop there and throw it back to you.
No, it's trust me, I've almost done 1,500 episodes. People have heard quite enough of my voice. They want to hear you, but so I have to find, I often get, made fun of this. I'm friends with some Delta Force guys, and they kind of roll their eyes when I try to find the optimism in things. But I have to, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is, you talked about, in the movie and your son debating suicide. I just recently passed the 10-year anniversary of my older brother's suicide, and I got out of college. I got into medical school, was in great shape, Captain America, and then I spiraled downwards to depths that I didn't know were possible. And now I've slowly climbed back out. I've lost most of the weight, not all of it, and I've built this podcast up, and I've reestablished my relationship with God. And so, for me personally, I've seen my parents never thought I was going to live independently again. I was broken, and I've seen where I've come, and so if I look at that, I can do that. I then have to extrapolate it out to the nation, and then the ideas that you're talking about, I think people have to see them. President Eisenhower, January 17th, 1961, beware in the councils of government, unwarranted influence in the military-industrial complex. And then 28 years before that, you had General Smedley Butler talking about we don't have enough money for the bonus army, but we have enough money to, go or, retroactively have gone to World War One. So these ideas are there, and they were not easily as spread around when a black and white television was the hot new product. But right now, people can brush these things off when life is fat and happy. But I think what you're talking about now is you have the average Joe now looking at things and going, why are we giving money to this other nation? Like I can't get to work because the bridge collapsed. And again, to find a more positive line in it, the spiritual aspect, being a millennial born in 1990 and all the baggage that comes with that, the number of friends I know who have completely turned back to God, have sold everything, and are homesteaders who like literally make their own butter is, it's a psychedelic trip to watch. You're like, what is happening? You don't see that broadcast. What you talked about is a small cadre of people that are overtaking the government. If it's a small cadre of people, they're never going to say we're a small cadre of people. They're going to use censorship. They're going to use the Twitter files. They're going to use the Department of Homeland Security with the backdoor through Facebook. They're going to quash everything so that you think you are alone and helpless. They're never going to broadcast. Think about Trump in 2016 when they would show the rallies. They'd zoom in on him and go, it's just him. And it's like, zoom out, show the stadium. They never do that because they don't want to. I have to find the optimism in things. And so the dark side is, yes, we, like you said, we spent more than the Marshall Plan in Iraq and Afghanistan and got nothing out of it. But, if you come for the king, you best not miss. And right now, I don't think the future's certain. I don't necessarily think that they've taken over yet. I think that we are still at a fork in the road to where enough people can look at this and realize, hey, politics does affect me. We're giving trillions of
Yep.
dollars to countries I can't find on a map. And so I don't know. I guess I have to find the optimism. And the counterpoint could be none of that's going to work. It's all pessimistic. The world's over and the country's going to fall. All right, have fun with that. If that happens,
Yeah.
then that happens. Okay, then that's why we're here, and this is God's challenge for us, and you can get into the whole metaphysics of it. Okay. But I think the harder and more alluring goal, mentally and physically, is to find the optimism and to find the silver lining in things. So, and I guess the final couple minutes I have, could you, on that same note or in that same theme, talk about, you know, what there is still to do and what people can look forward to? Because doom and gloom is a dime a dozen. Anybody can say it. The difficulty is finding the positivity.
Buddies. Those are some of the most courageous, but also some of the funniest and but most cynical guys I've ever served around. And watched, and I'm always humbled in the presence of people that rise to that level of service. And they're designed to be problem solvers.
Mm-hmm.
Those are people that are just the most incredible problem solvers in the world that I've ever been around. And I wish that we could have more of them in charge of the decisions that our country has had to make over time. And in fact, I'd rather have guys that are from making about strategic issues that our country is involved in, everything from foreign policy to domestic policy, right? So that's just a statement of what I believe in the kind of people that we do still have in our military. And that to me inspires me because I know that we still have I call it in the rank and file, people who are still, who still love this country and are willing to give their lives for it, as I was. And that's not to say, that's not to pat myself on the back. That's just to say, when you sign on the dotted line, coming in the military, that's what Memorial Day is all about, or Day weekend, right? It's to honor those that have given their lives. But you're right. I mean, we can't go around, pale faced and somber and negative Nellies or Debbie Downers kind of thing. And I can't do that with people because if I do that, I talk to thousands and thousands of people, millions in some cases, on a monthly basis, given whatever podcast or whatever event that I'm at. And I can't be negative. I got to be upbeat and tell people, look, here's this country. Here is what you've got to consider as your new destiny, right? Whatever you did yesterday doesn't matter. It's what you do tomorrow that really truly matters. And so people have to figure out how they're going to change their behavior, how they're going to change their lives, how they're going to get up slightly a little bit earlier in the morning, right? Maybe stay up a little bit later at night, maybe read a little bit more, maybe do a few more things, maybe get involved in some volunteer activities in your local community. I mean, et cetera, on and on and on. We can't, if we can't control things in Washington, D.C., right? So now I'm talking to your audience. If you can't control something in Washington, D.C., but you can influence or maybe even control certain things in your community, like who's leading the community volunteer group, right? Who's actually running something in your town that is maybe it's not a political thing, maybe it's just a volunteer activity to get behind some of these people that we know are leaders. I mean, this is how this republic is supposed to function. It's supposed to function when citizens participate. And we have become lazy, we have become complacent, and we have given up the idea. I mean, we have lost the sight of what God means to this country, not just to each of us as individuals, but this country chose God, right? I mean, we did. You can say God chose Israel, but America chose God. And we did, because we were being persecuted. We being, those human beings in the 1500 and 1600 and the 17th centuries there, right? They were being persecuted and they had to go to a new place. And they found this place called, as Pastor Winthrop, 1630 coined the term New England. They were going to go in search of a New England.
That's where I am.
That's where that phrase is coined from. So we have to be upbeat. We have to be positive, but you just can't be, Joe Smiles all day long and go, oh yeah, everything's rosy. You got to actually go do something, right? Like people tell me, pray, I'm going to pray for it. And I love that. I'm honored that people, always tell me. In fact, the last night we just had another 700 people that showed up to this latest venue that we showed the film. And they're telling me that they're praying for me, and I appreciate that. And they had prayed for my family and I for the entire time because they knew that something wasn't right. It just wasn't right, and they knew it. And so the most that they could do was pray, right? And I tell people, that I thank them for that because it did help. It helped a lot. But I also say to people, there's a time where we have to get off of our knees and take a stand and go and speak out or speak up. Don't be whispering, because if you're whispering, it's almost like you're denying, what is true, because you're whispering. So many people come up to me and whisper to me something about things that they see or things that they believe, and I look at them and I'm saying, why are you whispering? If you believe it, you should be proud of it, or you should be speaking about it more publicly. Well, I don't want to say anything because if I say something, I'm going to get attacked. Because they saw what happened to me. They see what's happening to President Trump. And they see what's happening to all these J6ers, right? That are in, these people are in jail. They're in prison, federal prisons for misdemeanors. This is crazy. So I'm going to continue to be positive, and I'll always be positive. I'm a glass full, not half full, glass full type guy. I'm going to be positive, but I'm also going to be realistic. And as we go from here through the elections in November, and I always caveat that by saying if we have them, because these people that we were up against, these are evil. This is evil. So I'll finish with this: in the long arc of history of the world, good always triumphs over evil. Always does. Always has. Good always triumphs over evil. But in that long arc, there are periods that take much longer than one would like. Right? If you look at various empires in the history of the world, there were evil empires, right? There were evil empires. There were empires that were led by evil men primarily, and they enslaved. And I'm talking slavery. I'm talking about hard slavery. And this goes back, known shoots 4,000-6,000 years, right? You go back as far as a Byzantine Empire. Or many of these, right? So in that long arc of history, good always triumphs. But there may be periods of time where it's just longer than you want. And I hope that the United States of America is not waning into one of those long arcs. Okay. What I do pray for is that we have enough people in this country and we still believe in our ability to vote, even though I think that our voting systems are filled with fraud, but we can still get in there, put eyes on, right? Bring our phones into where we're going to be and get involved in a way that you've never been involved in before, at least for this election. Because if we don't beat this election, if we don't beat the so to speak, the algorithms, if we don't beat the mail-in ballot fraud, if we don't the last two better points. There's a laws in some states. If you don't, if you're sitting there in the state of Michigan or in the state of Oregon, state of New York, and you don't understand what your voter system is, how your system is counted for votes, it's shame on you. Shame on people for not knowing that. Don't just think, well, I vote, or I don't vote so much. I don't bother to vote. When you don't bother to vote, you're actually this particular weekend that we are about to enter is designed to recognize, and that's for those who died in service to this country, to give us who are living the right, the privilege to be able to get out there and exercise our constitutional responsibility to choose our leaders in this representative republic that we do have. And that's, to me, that's what I want people to do. I want people to reflect on everything I've said, and then decide what can I do? What will I do now that I've heard Flynn say something? Because I don't think enough people are out there talking like this. I really don't. I think most people are talking about how shitty things are and how bad things are. And, we keep hearing, okay, the border, fentanyl, drugs, police, we defund the police. We got wars everywhere. Everybody goes, it's like, man, whine. I think we need to quit whining as a nation. And we need to start, solving the problems that we have. And the best place to solve them is right there in your home and in your community. And those that can help, that may be listening to this, that can help solve some of the problems in our elected representatives in Washington, D.C. Let's do it. I'll help you if I can. I mean, we have had people on my team that have traveled around this country in this endeavor. That one of them flew back today, was all last week in Congress dealing with congressional representatives on the weaponization committee. So we have people that at my level, we can influence. I'm not sure we can control, but we can certainly influence those types of issues, right? But the majority of Americans can't do that. Majority of Americans can only do things in their local communities. So then do it. And that's my guidance on this pre-Memorial Day weekend, sermon by General Flynn.
And it's well brilliantly said, and we'll kind of wrap it up as I kind of feel where you're coming from as a fellow hard-headed Irish Catholic. I mean, Thomas Patrick Carrigan. I was born with a hard head, but like I saw one thing that I think really brings it home, and it's the meme where it's the road dividing into like sunny pastures and then a rainstorm, and it's stand up for Western civilization and save it, and be hated and called a racist. Do nothing and be hated and called a racist. There's no appeasing these people, and even if you could appease them, why would you want to? Why would you want to? I don't care what evil people's opinions of me are. So yeah, don't whisper it. Stand up straight and say it. I mean, look at someone like Anthony Fauci. You're gonna let that guy bully you? That's somebody that you should and would shove into a locker for fun. Don't let that guy bully you.
Yeah.
Be a man.
Yeah.
So, guys, please go into the description. Please go grab your book. Is on Audible, Field to Fight, as well as the movie Flynn. The link is in the description. Amazon, YouTube, great movie, and I genuinely appreciate it, and I appreciate your time, sir. That was inspiring, and it was an honor to have you on here.
Thank you so much for having me, and to everybody that's watching, have a great, blessed Memorial Day weekend, and never forget the sacrifice of the women that went before, very young, beginning of their adult lives, and they gave up everything so we could have this free life that we have, to be able to make decisions like we want to make as Americans. So don't ever forget that. God bless. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. God bless America. And guys, yes, please remember that. Thank you, General Flynn.
Recording
guys,
stopped.
Thank you for watching. Take care, everybody. Much love. Peace.